In the United States today, the federal government controls immigration by deciding who to admit, exclude, or remove. Yet in the century after the American Revolution, Congress played a very limited role in regulating immigration. The states patrolled their borders and set their own rules for community membership. In the Northeast, they imposed taxes and bonds on foreign paupers. In the Old Northwest, today's Midwest, they used the same methods to exclude and monitor free black people. Southern states policed the movement of African Americans, both free and enslaved, and passed laws imprisoning black sailors visiting from other states or abroad. These measures rested on the states' sovereign power to regulate their internal affairs. Defenders of slavery supported fugitive slave laws, but resisted any other form of federal authority over mobility across and within their borders. If Congress had the power to control immigrant admissions, they feared it could also control the movement of free black people and perhaps even the interstate slave trade. Immigration, in other words, presented a political and constitutional problem in a slaveholding republic. The Civil War and the abolition of slavery removed the obstacles to a national immigration policy. In two cases heard in 1875, Henderson v. New York and Chai Lung v. Freeman, the Supreme Court declared that the era of state immigration control was at an end. Yet it would be a mistake to think that, in the absence of slavery, Congress would have regulated, let alone restricted, European immigration earlier. Following the examples set by the states, Congress might have excluded vulnerable newcomers just as it did when it passed the first General Immigration Act in 1882. But nobody before the end of the 19th century, not even the know-nothings in the 1850s, wanted to restrict European immigration numerically. Some nativists in the antebellum era called on Congress to extend the waiting period for naturalization or to regulate migration by paupers, but to no avail. Admission was the norm for Europeans, and it remained so until the 1920s. Even though the abolition of slavery cleared a path for the emergence of a national immigration policy, in other words, it did not make that policy inevitable. The catalyst was the arrival in the United States of significant numbers of immigrants from China. Starting in the 1870s, the federal government excluded Chinese laborers on anti-slavery grounds, deploying techniques of registration, punishment, and deportation first used to police free black people in the antebellum South. To justify these measures, the Supreme Court ruled in the Chinese exclusion case of 1889 that the federal government's power over immigration was inherent in national sovereignty and required no constitutional justification. This book explains how the existence, abolition, and legacies of slavery shaped immigration policy as it moved from the local to the federal level over the course of the 19th century. In doing so, it reveals the tangled origins of the national immigration policies we take for granted today.